Hi, my name's Fiona. I have been with Her Mystery School for 4 years now, and I've been through core curriculum, Queen's Command, and True Nature. One of the months in core curriculum that impacted me the most and continues to impact me every day is the first month of homecoming. Through that first month of homecoming, I was able to really bring my energy home to myself for the first time in my life, really understand what it felt like to be in residency in my own body, to be embodied. I had never had that sense before in my life. I had spent the majority of my life in fight or flight or in survival mode. So the first month of core curriculum in Her Mystery School was the first time I came home to myself. Through that first month in Dominion and Poison Periphery and Guardian, and then down into the Sacred Bowl, it really allowed me to carve out an architecture within myself, bring an awareness to that architecture that had always been there. I just didn't have a conscious understanding of what it was and how to work with it. So going through the first month of the core curriculum and going through the homecoming transmissions and practices was revolutionary and life-changing for me. And still to this day, through all those further years of Queen's Command and True Nature, I still go back to the homecoming short practices in Dominion and Poison Periphery, at least weekly, if not sometimes daily, to help bring myself home, to ground myself, to make sure I am in residency in my body. And once I'd been through the first year of Her Mystery School and I had carved out that architecture within myself, and through, ongoing practice, really felt at home in my own body, it was much easier for me then to realize when I was not in residency and have really quick and easy ways to bring myself home. Simple mantras like bringing my energy back down and in became a mantra that I would use many, many times a day as I went through Queen's Command. My wish for every woman in the world would be that they have this understanding of this architecture within themselves, and that they were equipped with this knowledge to be able to move through their life in a slightly different way. I feel like it can bring so much ease and so much grace, particularly in times of stress or in high chaos. The information and the practices and the transmissions that I found in core curriculum, particularly in homecoming, are just revolutionary, and I wish that for everyone. That's me. Blessed be.
Hello, I'm a participant of Her Mystery School, and I've been in the stream of the school for 5 years, going on 6 years. I was first led to the school through Daily Om, like I think so many other participants. Shamana's teaching on breaking the grip of past lovers. And, I'd been a yoga teacher for a few years, but there was something about that course that I think it was 28 days or 30 days or something that really brought me into my body for the first time in a way that was so invitational and so just brought alignment into my world in a way that I wasn't expecting. So somehow I found my way to the mystery school, and I wasn't quite sure what I was signing up for, but I just kind of felt a call. I felt alignment and a call to join and just sort of see what happens next. And something Jemana said recently was, hey, the moment you receive a call, like you're already changed. And I remember entering into the school for the first time, and this was 2019. And the first month was that of homecoming, and receiving a transmission every week of just coming home into moment, into body, into really like alignment with myself again, what felt like for the first time. And what really struck me was that it was so gentle and yet so poignant. So very like revolutionary in how simple it was. And I've felt ever since then and so strongly that if women, if we were given these teachings, or not even teachings, if we were just offered these ways of being um, from the get-go, from being really little kids, that it wouldn't have to spend so much time in repair and like coming back to sovereignty. But over the past 5 years, I guess I have come back to sovereignty. And the homecoming teachings have I'm not kidding when I say that I've been working these teachings specifically of coming into alignment through my head, through my heart, and through just my pelvic bowl, the whole like spinal alignment for 5 years. Um, and it's an ever deepening, really just coming home and revelation of alignment to mind and heart and full presence in body. And it really has changed my entire world. Um, so what I would love to offer you with is a little homecoming prayer. Um, it's a prayer of interiority. And the language for me is of the divine. My experience of it is most beloved, but you can change it to anything that feels most aligned for you, or nothing at all. So prayer for interiority is, most beloved, return me to myself, return me to center, return me to you. Amen. May it be so. Thank you.
Hello, I'm here to talk today about communion, which is the second month of the mystery school. And the first month is about homecoming, which is all about sort of going back down into yourself, because we're often called out of ourselves by the circumstances in life that move us, including other people. And so then communion is about how do we relate to the world around us in various ways? How do we relate to the world soul, if such a thing can be said to exist, like the very essence of creation? And Jemana talks about how creation is sort of always happening and always unfolding. And then also, how do we relate to other people? How do we move with other people in a way that is not so focused on sort of like a masculine assertion of self, which is something I have a tendency to do, but doesn't feel actually very aligned for me when I do it. It always feels uncomfortable. And so there's a series of ways that she describes how to relate with others based on her experiences doing water healing techniques. And some of them, I used to listen to this one transmission over and over again because it was just so fascinating to me. One of them is being the deep well for someone else. So not projecting your essence onto them or trying to make their story your story, but actually just being in a very deep presence and being able to allow them to become who they're going to be. And I believe she talks about this with regard to her child, because if a parent asserts themselves too much, it might not let the child become who they want to be. And there's all sorts of other ways that she describes moving like water in various ways to navigate interpersonal dynamics. And that paired with some of the practices of dominion and homecoming, and like learning how to really differentiate your own energy from others, which I've never been able to do. I've always absorbed other people unconsciously most of the time, but sometimes even consciously, like taking on whatever it is I think they're feeling or experiencing, and being able to place them outside of your sphere. They can still be close. There's one practice from the Daily Om where, which is a series of a series of practices for people who want like a sort of little taster of what it's like for the school. So I definitely recommend those if you're still on the fence. There's one called Unleash the Goddess Within. And it talks about kind of creating this porous membrane around yourself that lets love in, but nothing else. And then there's practices around thinking of someone and feeling their energy and allowing them to come close, but then also allowing them to distance and seeing how your being responds to being in relationship with them. And that was tremendously powerful for me to witness how I would contort myself around interacting with certain people. And realizing that I don't have to have them that close to me. I can place them elsewhere on the web, or I can choose to relate to them in a different way. So communion is really complex, but I thought it would be important to share about that because, you know, the mystery school is not just about, you know, becoming some sort of enlightened being on a mountaintop. I mean, it acknowledges that we are people of this world, that we respond to the world around us, and that we are in the world and the world needs us. So learning how to become sovereign inside ourselves, but also learning how to be responsive externally and learning how best to serve is part of the dance that we do in the school. So that's about it. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mystery School. This is such an honor. My name is Karine Orcha, and I have been with the school for around 4 years. I landed, someone spoke to me about the school. I was trying to find a community that I could feel at home with, and that would allow my energy as a priestess to feel home, to feel welcomed. So I was honored to find Jumana and the school and started with the beginning. And we've moved on to the true nature. I am also a yoga teacher and a performer as well. And this has been, when I met the school, when I went into the school, I was in a very deep transition in my life. My mother was passing. And when I signed again, I was then pregnant. And then anyways, every time the school has appeared in my life, it was in very big transitions that needed to be secured with who I am truly. So thank you, Jumana. And if you're on your way to sign in, please sign in immediately. This is one of those never regression movements that you do in your life where you're like moving forward all the time in ways that you can recognize yourself more and more every single time. So I bow down to the teaching, the curriculum, the people that you meet. I would like to speak after the homecoming. There is a part in True Nature where we speak about paradise and specifically the unburdening of the heart. That has been such a big thing for me to be able to unburden, lay to rest what needed to be laid to rest in my own heart. So for this, I would like to do a small practice. Please find a seat. Maybe move a little side to side, stretch your arm and a leg if you're there, moving your head side to side. And then take a moment to feel your feet on the ground. Take a deep breath in. And then exhale through your feet. Letting everything just fall exactly where it needs to be. Letting your breath move your body gently. And then slowly come into the center of your own heart. Breathing gentle breath into your own heart. Taking a deep breath in through your nose. And a deep breath out. Letting your heart soften. Letting the pieces of your heart that need to slowly fall. allowing the falling to be peaceful and graceful. The breath in. Letting go of the burden of your own heart on the exhale with ease and grace. Namaste.
I guess one of the foundational things that I've learned from her mystery school is that I always have the capacity to go home, and home is inside me. It's not somewhere outside. I found her mystery school and Jemana's work through a Facebook ad, Break the Grip of Past Lovers, and I was in utter heartbreak. I had a first relationship, post-divorce, I'd fallen in love, and he just kind of, after 6 months, ghosted. And I was just bereft and lost. And I had no idea what was going on, why it was going on, what was happening. None of this made any sense to me. And so when that daily own course showed up, and if you haven't tried it, that is a great way to get a quick taste of Jemana's work. That really changed me. And that was 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, I found her mystery school. This would have been 2019. And going on 5 years ago. And what I wouldn't know, but what the curriculum showed me through its pattern of, if kind of starting meeting you where you are, helping you come home, working your way into the teachings. And then all of a sudden we hit this month that Jemana called Descent. And the idea was intriguing, like, oh, this idea of a descent journey. But once she started teaching on it, I was like, ugh. That was where I was. I mean, I was in the middle of, I was in pain. I was aching. I was heartbroken. I was in the middle of a descent. And what was so profound about the teaching was that it normalized it. Like, I think this is the gift that Jemana brings, is that wherever we are, we're okay. We don't need to pathologize ourselves. We don't need to make ourselves wrong. We don't need to diagnose. We can just meet ourselves where we are. And I was in a descent journey. She teaches that from the story, the myth of Imana, who is a priestess of heaven, who chooses to go and take a descent journey into hell to learn more about the other side, the side that she doesn't know about, to gain wisdom. And along the way, she has to disrobe. She dresses in her finest garb, and she meets each gate, and in each gate she sheds something until she walks in naked. And actually, as she's in hell, basically, as she's in her descent, she is stripped of everything, even her body. But she's left she has someone, her servant, her trusted servant, who was told to wait for her, to look for her. If I'm not back from 3 days and 3 nights, come find me. And she's not back. And so the servant goes to all the gods to try to find a way to bring Imana back, and comes back with tools, the water of life and the breath of life, if I remember, the food of life. And she actually goes back into hell, finds the torso, the corpse, what's left. There's no arms, there's no head, there's no legs. Everything has been stripped. All of her life itself, everything she knew about life had been stripped. And her faithful servant brings her back to life and brings her back out. And for me, why that was so transformational was, for one thing, was to normalize that this is a journey of life. What Jemana teaches, the descent journeys come to us whether or not we want them. Like, we don't choose them. Imana chose them. For the most of us, it could be a betrayal, a heartbreak, a divorce, a job loss, a miscarriage, something that happens that is just utterly devastating and rocks our world. And it's totally not what we would have ever wanted for ourselves. But here we are. And why, for me, that's so profound was I felt so wrong and stupid and like an idiot. Like, I should have gotten over this. It was only 6 months. It shouldn't have been such a big deal. It shouldn't have hurt so much. No, I mean, I was just beating myself up. And this normalization, no, this is just part of life's journey. This is part of the process. That helped so much. And then there's 4 weeks in descent. And then the last practice was the one that was really transformational. It was the one of resurrection. It's this idea that we don't stay in the descent, but the process of descending rebirths us and brings us back out. And further on in the curriculum, as I continued to study, there were other things that we actually really went through and walked through and closed out all of our descent journeys. It was such a profound teaching. I mean, it like, oh, I could go back and look at many parts of my life where I'd been through and come out and been through and come out and been through, like divorce itself, go in and come out of descent journeys. But I had noticed that in the past, it took a really long time for me to get out. And now I had tools. Now I had a path. Now I had practices. Now I had a way of making sense of things that make no sense. And now I know that if things are getting really hard, I phone a friend. I talk to somebody. I have somebody have my back, like Imana's trusted servant. So there's someone that can bring me out. If things are getting really tough, they can bring me back out again. They can find me and help me find life again. And I think the most profound teaching, like the process and that there's an out, all beautiful. But I think that the part that was most profound is that we're stripped of everything that we're not, and we discover who we truly are. Like when all the garb is gone, when all the clothes are gone, when all the finery is gone, when everything that we think we are in this world is stripped, we find out who we really are. And that we survived that. And this teaching helped me anchor that there was this greater part of me that could survive the descent journey. Because the worldview was that there was something wrong, broken, damaged, that I had failed in somehow, right? But the teaching showed me, no, I was just being stripped of all that I wasn't, so that I could resurrect into all that I am. And the other part about Jomana's teaching, the thing I think I want to conclude with, is that if you're not been exposed to her work, it's just loving. It's nurturing, it's nourishing. It's how do you tend to yourself? How do you take care of yourself in the deepest, most profound, energetic way, going into your core and reconnecting with truly who you really are, regardless of whether things are going well, whether you're out creating, whether you're sheltering, or whether in the pits of hell. And you don't have to stay in the pits of hell. Actually, you were never meant to. There's a process, and you get to come out. And you get to come out stronger, better, truer, and actually companioned. So I love this work. Join us. Her Mystery School is a fantastic and incredibly safe place to be. So thank you.
Hi, my name's Fiona. I was brought to the school from an invite from a very dear friend, and she gathered a group of us here in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia. So I journeyed through the school with a beautiful group of women here where we gathered once a month. There was about 10 of us, and we have been doing retreats every year. So I feel like that has really deepened the experience for me here. The teaching I wanted to speak about is the month of Dark Mother. The month of Dark Mother was incredibly potent for me. In week 1, the discussion is all around silence, darkness, incubation, and absorption. In week 2, the discussion's all around the mystery, the unspoken, the unknown, and the unnamed. And there was a sentence that really stuck with me, and it was simply, I don't know, and that's okay. I think I'd spent so much of my life trying to figure things out in my head. It was a beautiful thought to just relax into, that there's some things I don't know. There's some things that will always live in the mystery, and that's okay. I don't need to figure it out. Then in week 3, the discussion is around the sacramental mundane and pausing to allow wisdom to catch up. And again, I thought that was a really beautiful sentence that really stuck with me. My favorite practice in the month of Dark Mother is a practice around death. I know that might sound a bit strange, but there's a beautiful reclamation of death that's guided through inquiry practice through this month in Dark Mother to really reorient our thoughts and feelings around death. And the practice that I loved is a guided visualization that kind of invites you to think back along your golden path to your point of conception and before, and then to think along your golden path to the end of your days, and really orient yourself exactly where you are in the present moment. And I found this incredibly helpful to cut through the static and to cut through all of the chaos going on around me at the time, and really bring me home to myself, let go of all that didn't serve from the past and the future, things that I didn't know yet, and just bring me home to myself. So I find that particular practice, the death practice in the Dark Mother month, incredibly useful. And I do turn to it often. I'd like to share a little prayer that I wrote for Dark Mother. Now I'm in the 3rd year of the curriculum True Nature, and there's an invitation to write a personal prayer for each one of the months. So I'd like to share my Dark Mother prayer, and it's the prayer for the light. Dark Mother, I bow at your feet. I bid you please take it all from me. Let me empty, let me rest, let me suckle at your breast. My sacred needs, a blessing from thee. Darkness, silence, stillness. Count them 3. Thank you very much.
Hello, dear one. I'm here to talk to you about the 6th month in the school, the ALCHEMISTA. I've been journeying through her mystery school for a time, drawn by a deep call to explore the mysteries that lie beneath the surface of life's contradictions. What brought me here is perhaps similar to what brought many of you: a desire to understand, to reconcile, to transform. The essence of the ALCHEMISTA state has been a profound revelation for me on this path. It's not a concept. It's a way of being where we don't merely navigate life's contrasts. We harness them. Element by element, moment by moment, we merge the seemingly impossible and craft a life that reflects the depth of consciousness herself. The ALCHEMISTA month is about embracing and transmuting the paradoxes within us and around us, and in doing so discovering the emergent wisdom that can only arise when we allow opposites to coexist and interact. One practice from this month stands out for me, a breakthrough that I believe holds potent potential for us all. Reconciling irreconcilables. Here's my interpretation, a version that has helped me the most on my journey. To picture, if you will, an eagle cutting through the sky, her wings catching fire from the sun. Below, water ripples with that same fierce light. On the surface, they seem worlds apart, air and water, fire and flow, but beneath they're one, both reflections of the same consciousness. This image captures the heart of the ALCHEMISTA state. Here, opposites don't stand in contrast. If you tune in, you feel that they merge, creating something entirely new. So in this practice, I've learned to engage with differences, recognizing that the eagle's flight and the water's depth are both necessary. And let's not forget about the earth and the shores. Look at the waves, touching them, touching the ground. So all of it true, and both part of a larger whole. The true transformation I found doesn't come from erasing differences, but from embracing them, allowing them to merge in a way that transcends their individual natures. What the ALCHEMISTA teachings have meant for me: an opening to the deeper unity that lies beneath the surface. The elements, fire, water, earth, air, aren't just symbols. They're forces that we wield to bridge divides. Fire purifies, water soothes, earth grounds, air elevates, and the ALCHEMISTA practices in this month will do the same. They won't seek to diminish the unique qualities of anything, They will allow you to interact, to evolve, to create something greater than the sum of the parts. And so I offer you this blessing rooted in the teachings of ALCHEMISTA to embolden you on your courageous journey. Let the fire of transformation burn away all that no longer serves. Let the waters of clarity reveal unity beneath every surface. The earth holds you in strength, balancing opposites with grace. The air uplifts your spirit, embracing both light and shadow. In each moment, reconcile the irreconcilable and uncover wisdom in paradox. Embrace the dance of differences, seeing them as gateways to truth. With clear eyes and a fierce heart, merge what seems separate and craft a life where opposites reveal the oneness underneath.
Hi, my name is Aurora, and I've been in the school for 4 years. I've done all 3 consecutive years, so True Nature, Queen's Command, and the core curriculum. I suppose the reason I was drawn to the school was because I felt a bit detached from myself. I had gone through a breakup, and I don't know, something just kind of called me towards this. I was like, a full body, yes, this is what I want or need to do. So it wasn't even an intellectual decision, but it was just a knowing. So I started, and here we still are. I mean, if I were to describe it, it's hard to put into a nutshell, like put it into a cohesive explanation, because I feel like it's more of the teachings dip you into your own experience rather than something that you can just kind of like talk about. It's an experiential thing. But what I will say is that I remember the first year I went through the school, I was like, oh, Jumana's touching on things that I absolutely feel, but I was never able to articulate on my own before. Such as, I don't know, let me see if I can think of something. I don't know. I can't at the moment. It's been several years since I did the first the core curriculum, but I do remember often just being like, oh wow, yes, I know that experience. I know exactly what she's talking about. Nobody has ever said this before. And I felt very seen and very heard, and like, okay, this is my place. This is where I need to be, with these people who do understand what it's like to be a feminine person, or having a feminine experience in this world. So I very much appreciated that. I think what it is sort of a ticket or a pathway, a route down into what many of us experience as people, feminine people living in the constructs of our society, and how to navigate it better than we've been taught. I think, let's see. Recently today, I think the orientation is really important. Meaning, like, I had this thing come up. Okay, let me just say. So this morning, I was asking myself, should I continue on with the school this year or not? And the word that came out was simplicity. And that was telling me, oh, okay, I need to pare down, and I should not go back this year. Doesn't mean I'm abandoning the school, but right now I need to pare down. And so that is a direct, that is a directive that my oracular knowing gave me. And this is part of a practice that we do in the school. And so now I know, oh, I heard that, or I felt that, I knew this. I just asked the question, and now I'm connected to what it feels like and what it is to know, to have that knowing, that oracular knowing within, and the message that it's giving me. So that is one of the practices that we learn, is how to identify, how to get in alignment with the things that we do truly know that are coming up from a deeper level, and how to identify them. Because, you know, knowing where something's coming from, your heart, your mind, your yoni, your womb, you start being able to articulate the things that want to come out of you and where they're coming from and what they mean. So that was a very concrete example of one of the things that we have been taught going through. Let's see. So I think in the long run, we've been, I mean, I've cultivated a deeper trust in myself from being a part of the school. And in the beginning, I felt very like a straw, just I needed everything to come, you know? And at this point, I'm at a place where I actually need to stop sucking on the straw and to let it be and settle and marinate in it, and see what else comes up around it. So there's a certain kind of self-trust and direction that I've cultivated, just by learning how to listen properly within. So that's what I got for you.
Okay, so I'm L'Oreal Listel, and I've been going to the school, her mystery school, for 3 years now. And I found the school serendipitously. And as Jumana says in the school at some point, she, the great mother, the great divine feminine, will find you. She will find you. And that is, I think, really how I came to the school, is she found me. And what the school has done for me are so many things on so many levels. There have been, there's been a consistent deepening through the cycling each year, and then the cycling through, you know, the core curriculum, and then the Queen's Command, and then the true nature, and the way it all just deepens and brings you even deeper into your core, into your essence, into your knowing. And so one of the months then that has been particularly resonant for me is Oracle, month of Oracle, which invites us into a knowing that is beyond the mind, that is deeper than the mind, a knowing that is permeates through, transcends, lives in a more timeless reality than the fluctuating ripples of the events of our daily lives. A knowing that is deeper than our concept of ourselves, right? So it invites us into this deep self-trust. And for me, a big focus and theme in my life, and also in my work with women, is toxic relationship recovery. And I think Oracle is I mean, it's hard to say which. Homecoming is very important for that, coming into your rooted center. But then actually just an inevitable consequence of that then is kind of Oracle, is this ability to trust this language that is non-linear, non-conceptual, that is actually already active within you. It's already a language that some part of you knows, but maybe you haven't given as much attention to, put as much trust in, honored as much as would benefit you. So Oracle gives a container, for really focusing on that knowing and disregarding, to the extent that you can, as much as you can during the month of Oracle, that maybe compulsion, maybe requirement from a lot of places in our culture to seek expert advice, to seek the advice of even trusted others, to maybe read about things, search it on the internet. Oracle says these all have their place, but within you, there's a more profound knowing that is visceral, that is not something that's acquired. It's something that upwells, that you become receptive to. So the months leading up to Oracle are part of preparing you for that receptivity, and to be have the nuanced attentiveness to begin to discern where you are actually already receiving divine wisdom that's guiding you. And then to be a bit more focused and maybe even ceremonial about creating a container around that, so that you really do emphasize to your own underconscious, I can directly receive a knowing that is going to be speaking to me very specifically, outside of other people's filters, outside of their projections. And so for me, this, in toxic relationship recovery in my own journey, but also for the women that I work with, has been, it's just central, right? It's central to know thyself, as the Oracle at Delphi said, to have this deep trust in what's upwelling in you, through you, always, when you give space to listen and receive. So there are different ways you can do that, but this practice that Jumana guides us through, there are several within the first year of just having that awareness of moving, descending from the mind, the knowing of the mind, into the knowing of the heart, but then deeper into the womb of silence, which interpenetrates everything, but also is, deeply accessible as you, as a woman, drop into a consciousness that rests deep in your pelvic bowl. So I want to just end with a blessing of sorts that Jumana uses in the first year in Oracle, because she says it so well, and she has this gift with words that they do transmit something, something beyond the mind. So I'm just going to use her words and I'll read it. God or goddess, divine intelligence, source of all life, I am listening. Please reveal yourself to me in myself, so that my own wisdom is illuminated. Infuse me. Make me strong, so that I can face what is in front of me, so that I can choose well. Amplify my own authority in my life. I will make myself a vessel for greater knowing. And this is the quintessentialized wisdom then that comes through in Oracle. Just even that is a representation of that. Simple, direct, non-conceptual. And as women, it's really, I think, just as critical as it has been for millennia when women practice this skill, but in some ways increasingly more so, because we are living in a time where truth is being assaulted, being redefined, and what we know viscerally through our own inner knowing, outside of the manipulations, the fast-moving projections, the AI simulations, what we know from deep in our womb space is what will help us ground in here on earth what is more true, what is resonant in a way that is resonant with the great harmony. And the school in its entirety, I feel it has been for me a tremendous support in that, in all the ways. So blessed be.
I'm honored to take this time to share with whomever is watching a little bit about my story. My name is Noelle Wood, and I still am not really certain how I discovered her mystery school, but it was over 4 years ago, and it was a point in my life after my divorce. And as I was starting to navigate transitioning away from my religion, generationally, and I was raised in a very strict religion, and a religion that taught me to believe in a male deity, where the idea of Heavenly Mother was rarely spoken of, and that feminine divine was really lacking and nowhere to be found. And I didn't realize how much I missed her until I stepped into the spaces, the safe spaces, to explore the female divine in her mystery school. I've never taken the time to share the depth of my gratitude for Jumana and what she's created here, along with the women, Dionysia and Jasmine and Jumana and I can't remember her name, Jamila, and what they have brought as mentors, as friends, as these beautiful women who have opened their hearts and their wisdom to share with all of us. I want to share quickly the month of Heavenly Mother, because of the significance of that in particular, because of my past religious experience and what it has meant to me to open up to this idea of the feminine divine and learn all the ways that Goddess has been present. I just never knew. I'd never been taught, and I never explored it until I stepped into this space. So slowly, I was able to build from the first year of Heavenly Mother through the Queen's Command, and then 2 kind of years, a year and a half of going through the true nature. So this last transmission, these transmissions of Heavenly Mother in the true nature container were interesting for me because it explored questions that I grew up believing that there was such thing as sin. And that raised in my religion, there was so much shame around my sexuality, any exploration of my sensuality, my sexuality, my body. And that really did a number on me. And it did a number on the man that I was married to, because it ended up causing lots of problems and some behaviors that were not conducive to monogamy. And I took it on as being my problem instead of understanding it was his, and probably part of our upbringing, both raised that way. But to sit with these questions about what is sin and how do I feel about it, I don't have the questions right in front of me, but it's interesting how I've, over these 4 years of kind of slowly transitioning out of the church to become really neutral and not really knowing if there is such thing as right and wrong and good or bad and evil and sin, that maybe as I started to take steps away from the way that I was taught to believe, that sinning or making a mistake actually was the very thing that cracked me open to realize that I'm not perfect, and that's okay. And I wasn't meant to be perfect as a human. And that mistake or that sin was actually the very thing that taught me so much about myself and set my heart and feet on a path of self-discovery and continued education and healing. And so I just have to say, as a woman who never believed that a woman could become empowered to step into her sovereignty in her sexuality and in every other level of her life, to trust herself, to be safe, to trust herself, and not abdicate my power to some other being outside of myself, has been the greatest gift. And I have to say, it all launched from the wisdom that I discovered here in this space, in this school, our mystery school. So, with that said, I am so thrilled to be connected to these other women as they share their hearts on their own journeys and what their own stories have been, whether it's been the mother wound, a father wound, or all of the above, or being taught about a certain type of deity that had conditions upon worthiness and acceptance and love. But to finally, I have to say, I guess, I finally feel free, emancipated from the ways, the old ways and the paradigms, ways to think and believe about myself. I'm free to be me fully and to love that version of myself and to keep going so I can continue to step into and align with my true nature, which is, for me, to be free from, to be liberated from shame, self-doubt, regret, attachments, and fear. That I spent so much of my life wading through that heavy, sticky energy to get to where I am now, where I can, with so much gratitude, say I am liberated from all of those things. Of course, I'm still human, but by and large, I don't live in that space anymore, and that sticky energy. I really do trust myself to be safe, to know I'm resourced. I remember the first time that Jumana said that I am resourced now to know how to tend to myself with so much compassion And because I've given it here, I'm able to give it out to all those in my life and all relationships and all experiences easily, because I did give it here first. And that took some time, I'm not going to lie. But I don't know if we ever arrive at being whole or fully resourced, but I love my story. I love my path. I love who I have become and am still becoming, and I wouldn't change any of it. And there's just no words for the gratitude that I feel for Jumana and the fact that she trusted herself enough to do what she's done here to help other women. I hope to be able to continue on my own path and help other women as well. Wake up to the glorious truth of themselves and being able to help women step into their true nature and come home, finally. And with that, I close and give such a huge warm hug to everyone in this school, anyone who will ever watch this. Please, I guess, just trust yourself that wherever you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be. And trust the journey. It will unfurl itself for you as you continue to trust yourself. Okay, ciao.
All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here and you're interested in learning about her mystery school. It has been completely life-changing for me, and I honestly don't know who I would be or where I would be or what would be happening internally with me without the school. So I'm really excited to share with you some of the things that I've taken away from it. I will say that I probably could write about all of the months and share with you. But I decided actually to talk about Priestess because I think it was in some ways one of the hardest for me to grapple with. But when I finally sort of had an awakening around it, it really made a lot of my life make sense in pretty important ways. At one point, Jumana Sophia, who is the person who runs the school, put out a video called Priestess is What You Are. And she talked about her own resistance to that term and also the way that it can basically mean so many things. It could be in motherhood, it can be in teaching, it can be, even in customer service. It doesn't actually matter what your profession is. Priestessing is what you do and who you are in the world through whatever medium that is. So I've been in the school for 7 years. I've been following the teachings for 8 years. And like many of us, I came to them through Break the Grip of Past Lovers, which is a series of short meditations. It's 21 days long. And I was in a state where I really wasn't enjoying the relationship dynamics that I was in. I kept sort of repeating this addictive cycle of waiting for someone else to pay attention to me and being really destitute in my inner world. And so what it helped me do is find grounding for the first time in my life, in my body, and to feel, instead of this intense anxiety and roiling fear, groundedness, solidness. So I'd like to share with you a little bit about Priestess and a practice that really helps me return back to that state on a fairly consistent basis. So in Priestess, we do explore lineage, and to a degree, her mystery school is its own lineage, meaning that you don't have to have any background in any other sort of esoteric or mystical tradition to take part. It's very, very accessible. But it's not about adopting a dogma, like you now have to call yourself a priestess, or you now have to follow everything that is said as quote unquote truth. It's more about having a common language and set of principles for interacting with your own subtle body. And different practices work for different people in the school at different times. Some of us will express how we're very resistant to one part or another at any given time, and that's totally normal. But this idea of returning back, it's the principle of homecoming, which is at the beginning of the school. And we also return here with, in Priestess at the end of the school with the chalice practice. And the chalice practice is sort of imagining your vessel as if it's a chalice or a cup, and emptying and refilling with light, purifying, tonifying, and aerating that chalice, that vessel, because at least in my experience, I'll have a lot of dense trapped energy, and also I'll absorb things from other people, and it'll get really stuck in my body. And it sort of clarifies and makes coherent what is me and what is them, and also sort of releases anything that doesn't need to be there. Jumana also describes it as fire, like a light in the niche within ourselves. And that can be at varying degrees of intensity. Maybe it's a small little flame. Maybe it's a bonfire, depending on where you're at any given time. This teaching for me resonates with another concept from the communion month, which is empty presence. And that's the idea that you can be able to be there for others without taking on their energy or emotions. And I really struggle with this. I tend to merge with other people and try and kind of adopt what's ever going on with them. So this allows me to focus on my vessel, let go of that energy that might be trapped within myself throughout the day. And it doesn't require me to go and do a 20-minute ritual. I can just do it in the moment. I can just remember empty, and I can allow some of that to release. So with that, I have a small prayer. This is a bit edgy for some of us. We may have some negative associations with prayer. So this is my sort of first attempt. Let the light fill your well. Let your waters clear and settle into profound stillness. Let your vessel empty of what does not serve and retain the light of your heart. May you settle into exquisite presence with all that you serve, intact unto yourself. Blessed be.